Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we're going to have a bit of theory crafting fun. We'll be doing a hero concept, building up a kit into something that could work well in the game as well as be fun to play. Now before we get onto that, as FREEDO has mentioned previously, to celebrate our 2-year channel anniversary, we've partnered up with our sponsor Razer to offer you a special limited time discount code for their Overwatch themed peripherals. It's a whopping 10% and the link to access it will be in the description box below. We'll also be operating a giveaway which hopefully will be active when this video goes up, so again check the description box for details. Now with all of that said, let's begin. Let's talk about a Talon tank. It's been noted many times by a lot of fans that Talon have one glaring absence in their hero lineup. With the recent Retribution event, we got to see the Talon Heavy Assault Trooper, who kind of functioned like a mix between Rhine and Orisa. Although 2 miniguns is always better than 1, right? A Korean hacker also made it so that he could play as the Trooper in ranked matches, which got everyone a little bit excited. So we got to thinking, what would that Talon tank play like if he was fleshed out? What would his name be? Well, this video is about what we came up with. Juggernaut seems like a good name for him, no? I like the idea of making him a Russian veteran from the first Omnic War, who unlike Zarya isn't making the strides to become a better person, but instead is consumed by rage and anguish and has joined Talon just so he can get his revenge in a second war. I really like the way Overwatch has its light and dark sides of the same coin in terms of its characters. Moira vs Mercy, Soldier vs Reaper, Juggernaut would be Zarya's dark reflection, too scarred by his past to grow and overcome his prejudice. To start, we'll cover his basic loadout first and then move on to his abilities. Let's keep his weapons, the dual miniguns, and how they would function is, the damage dealt by the cannons would charge a personal shield, so he has to earn his ability to protect his teammates. His hitbox would remain large, as would his health pool, although much lower than the Retribution build, that'd be ridiculous. Once he's built his shield resource by doing damage, he's then free to use it, and it extends further than his body like traditional shielding, but the power it requires means that both his weapons and his shield cannot be used at the same time. He can either shoot or activate the charged shield. His size would mean that he'd still be able to provide cover for his teammates regardless somewhat, but his main role is in shield break and slow deliberate advancement. To suit this, his weapons would do extra damage to enemy shields compared to players. Their rate of fire could also be adaptive to how fast he was moving. So at full walk speed, the rate of fire is lower. If he's standing still, they would ramp up a little bit. Similar to Bastion, although not as binary between the two modes. For his damage profile, I'd keep it quite low with some fall off. You'd certainly not want to get caught close up by his fire, but with him I think it's more important to consider accuracy. You don't want both miniguns to be lasers, seeing as they're fired from the hip, but you also don't want them being diva spread either, especially when you consider that he's otherwise quite slow. He'll be fighting at medium range most of the time. He needs to be able to direct them relatively effectively at a Rhine-sized shield target up to what you'd consider the furthest medium range equates to. He's coming to break your setup. He needs to feel imposing and provide a sense of oncoming dread that his enemies have to focus down before he gets to where he needs to be. Bunkering up against him won't be enough, he'll just tear down your defenses. Now that we've covered his basics, let's move on to his abilities. Shoulder charge. Giving him a pin feels a bit unfair to Rhine, so you could replace it with a short burst of momentum that lacked the potency to kill, like an ability to drop his shield, dip his shoulder, and just run at his opponents in a short burst. Think the actual character Juggernaut from the X-Men films when he's just busting through walls at people. It could have CC abilities in the form of a small boop like Rhine's pin does if it hits you indirectly, but not a stun like Brigitte's shield bash. It's knockback. He just wants you out of his way. If it's on an 8-second cooldown, it would be useful, but not too good, especially if you limited its range to like 6 to 8 meters. Enough to get you through a choke, or to disorganize a defensive setup once you've broken their shield formation. I'd also make it so that you had to commit to it though, as yes, it could be used to get environmental kills, but you might easily end up running off a ledge if you didn't judge the distance correctly. Likewise, it could be useful in booping players off an objective, like a 2CP point or payload cart in overtime. No diva, no stall for you. ENRAGE. So for his second ability, we'd like to incorporate some kind of berserker mechanic. In other games, the effects are often related to health and damage output. For Juggernaut, how this would function is, he'd have a self-cast status effect that lasted for a decent enough amount of time, say like 10 seconds or so. While ENRAGE is active, he would receive a bonus to his damage the lower his health was. To make it obvious for enemy players that this was indeed active, he could take on a red metallic hue so you knew when you'd made him mad. Most tanks appear easy pickings when on low HP, but for this evil Talon agent, we thought it would be cool if the opposite was true somewhat. You could tier his damage bonus as well. Say he has a total pool of 600 HP with 150 armor as part of that. If he falls below 450 HP, he gets a 10% damage boost. Below 300, and it scales up to 20%. And then for the final stage, when he's at 100 HP or below, he gets 30% extra minigun destruction. It'd have to be on a cooldown of around 12 seconds, and that cooldown wouldn't start counting down until the previous cast was over to make it fair. Not only would it be fun to play as him in this context, but it would also mean that you as the enemy would absolutely not want to leave him standing in any fight. He's a problem that needs taken care of, and quickly. Nightmare. So for Juggernaut's ultimate, we thought we'd best at least try to hint at his Talon allegiance by making it involve Fade in some way. So how it would work is, Jug would throw a Fade projectile into an enemy's formation, and when it landed, it would spread out Fade tentacles that reached out to all enemies within its AoE range, something like 4 to 6 meters radius. Kinda like Grav, but it wouldn't CC you like that ultimate does. Even if you were hit by it, you'd still be able to move freely, perhaps even out of its range. When in the grasps of Nightmare, any damage that an individual takes is also applied to the others affected by it, but at a reduced 50%. So say you've caught Zarya, Hanzo and Brigitte in the Nightmare, you hit Hanzo for 120 damage, while Zarya and Brigitte will take 60 damage at the same time. This is kind of like the Warlock's ability Fatal Bonds from Dota 2 or the Destiny Hunter super Shadow Shot Tether. It has massive damage potential and is absolutely a team wipe tool. It would also make shielding slightly less relevant, as you don't need to hit the Rhine protecting everybody, you just need to find an angle on something caught in it and they all suffer. However, just like Grav, it would need a very slow charge rate, as if used correctly, it would be almost certain death. Imagine second point 2 CP with this in your pocket. On either side it would be great, but it'd be particularly amazing when fending off respawn stall on attack. Walk into the Nightmare at your own peril, enemy team. Anyway, there's enough sustain abilities in the game, it would be nice to have more that actually made things die quicker. Plus, I really think that Nightmare suits the hero's darker tone as we've imagined him. So what do you guys think about our Juggernaut concept? Do you think that he'd be fun to play? As always with these kinds of videos, let us know your ideas in the comment section below, whether about this concept in particular or even one of your own. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a rating. If you never want to miss another video of ours again, please click the bell icon next to the subscribe button on our channel to join the notification squad. You'll be in great company. And finally, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter, where you can find updates about new videos and other cool stuff. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time.